Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host for How to Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. It's a live broadcast worldwide. Anybody that has the internet can find me on Facebook, Fight CPS. I'm broadcasting on the YouTube channel here, and I'm using the StreamYard application. And I want to welcome all of you that are here to fight the child protection system, to learn about it, to understand it, to know how corrupt it is and how bad your case is. And I'm here to help you. I'm a loving father, and I really care about you all. I have 6 children, been married 31 years, and we will resolve your issues as best as we can. Now, there's several ways to interact with this podcast. There are 4 ways. One is just to be a listener. Two is to text comments. Three is to be a guest. And four is my phone number, which I'll put up very shortly. Um, um, okay. Um, I had a phone call come in, and um, so I wanted to start off with the first way you interact, and that's just by being in this room. And we already have people coming in, and just by being a listener and taking notes is all you'd have to do to find out about the child protection system. Now, I call it CPS in short. So if I'm talking about CPS, I'm talking about all the child protection systems in every state. They all may have different names, like Arizona Department of Children's Services. In Kentucky, it's the Bureau. So it is all very, very, very um, different, but it's all the same. They're a branch. Um, they are a branch of social service to protect our children from abuse and neglect. From the abuse and neglect. Also, they're trying to help out you families if you're struggling with family issues to get your families back together again. It's very important that we have family reunification when they break apart the family. And it's been proven that the biological parents are the best parents for the children. They are the best parents for the children. And I'd like to welcome Faye, who had just called in, and she's now going to listen. But I want our prayers to go out for Faye. She is a single mom from Richmond, Kentucky. She had 2 children. She was also brought up in foster care and was in it 5 times as a child. So she's gone through a horrible time as a foster child where she was abused and raped and molested and horrible things happened to her. She grows up, falls in love, and has a son, and they are trying to take away her son. She had a daughter, a 5-year-old daughter, that the ultimatum was given by the corrupt bureau there in Richmond, Kentucky. Either you keep your son or give up your daughter. That's horrifically bad news. So she's keeping her son because he's special needs. He needs the attention of his mother. And right now he's 23, and Faye is trying to be a guardianship. But she's going through a lot of medical issues, and she's struggling. She's a good woman, and so we got to say prayers because I don't want her anything to happen to her because she has offered a lot on this show. So we're praying for you, Faye, and thank you for listening. She's come up with some great ideas. She's the one that came up with our rule number 5. She also talks about the plan, what the plan is, whether to sign the plan or not. So there's lots of things that she helped me out with. So I've talked about just being a listener. You can do emojis like thumbs up, like hearts, smiley faces, those kinds of emojis there. Now, Let's say you want to do more than just listen. You want to text something in. This program allows you to text in comments, but they should pertain to CPS. Questions or comments are entertained here. And so it's very, very important that when you type in your comments, that they pertain to child protection system. There's a lot of subjects we can talk about, but tonight I want to concentrate on the child protection system. Please show your name. I know that you may have a fancy name there, but it's easier for me to talk to names than it is to try to understand, Lucky Rick or Fantastic Bill. I mean, if you did Bill, I could go with Bill. But anyway, put your name in, put the city and state. And if you're not from this country, the USA, it's fine if you're from other countries. I welcome this worldwide. I've had 13 countries have texted in comments about CPS problems in their country. Bangladesh is one of them. Then we have New Delhi, India. Then we have Africa. We have the province in South Africa on the west coast. We have Mozambique on the east coast, opposite Madagascar. We have Rwanda, which is a small country near Lake Victoria in Central East Africa. And Rwanda had a terrible civil rights in 1994 where 1 million people were brutally murdered and 500,000 females were raped, young female girls and so forth. It was terrible. So they have text comments. They say that things are a lot better now. Things are a lot better now. Now, I just had a bunch of room links come in. So we have those rooms in there too. We have the defense strategy twice in here, which is all right. 3 times we've had it in here. Okay. 4 times. We have defense strategy 5 times. I don't know how we got it in there so many times, but we got those. We have all these rooms that are connected. And then I have Faye, who's from Richmond, Kentucky, in the mix of all these rooms in here. So back to the comments. We were talking about countries, and I left off with Rwanda. North Africa on the west coast is Liberia. And a guy named Archie has texted in several times about his programs and the child protection system. And also he is a scout leader. He works with the scouts, boys and girls who enjoy scouting. Now, it used to be called Boy Scouts, but now girls in there, so it's just called scouting. It's called scouting. Then we go across the pond. Oh, we can't forget Europe. We go up to Europe, and it's England, Scotland, and Wales of the United Kingdom. And then Denmark and Sweden have text and comments. Then we go across the pond to North America, and we have Canada, both coasts that have text comments. We've had all the 50 states either talk or text a comment in, including some remote places like the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, the Lakota Sioux. We have the Cherokee from Oklahoma. They have a reservation 7,700 square miles. And one of the mothers in here has been very vocal about the Cherokee. So we do have Indians involved because there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about it. It's the ICWA of 1978, and I will talk about that. Then we go south to Mexico. We had a father looking for his daughters in Louisiana. And then we go to South America. I've had Guyana, which is on the east side of South America, opposite Venezuela and north of Brazil, on the coast. They have a coastal town called Georgetown. And they have texts and comments about CPS. Then we go across Pacific to land down under, and we have Australia. Several people from Australia have text messages. So it's a worldwide issue. It's a worldwide problem. And so I'm really want to hear from everybody. And if you're from a country or the United States, you're welcome to participate with comments. Please try to be as complete as you can with your case so I don't end up playing ping pong ball where I ask a question, you answer, then I ask another, and it goes back and forth. Try to divide it into several parts about your case. First, I like to know how your family structure is. Are you a husband, wife, a boyfriend, girlfriend? Are you lovers? Or maybe a partnership? Are both parents involved in the children? Are the children from the same father and mother? Or are there multiple fathers and multiple mothers? And then, are you a single parent? Did a divorce happen or something there along those lines? Then then the children, whether you got three boys, three girls, ages 12, 13, 14, or 6, 7, and 8. And that helps me also perceive your family there. And then I like to know about whether you're charged neglect or abuse or both. And a little bit more details with neglect and abuse. Then I'd like to know how your child was taken from your home. Did you give them permission to enter your home? Was there domestic violence that was taking place and they had to enter your home to protect the child? Maybe from a weapon like a knife or a gun, or being strangled or thrown against the wall? That's the second way. Or the third way is that maybe there was a court order that had you have you move your child. And I'll talk more about that in my rule number 4, about how to enter in a home and how to talk to social workers and so forth. Then I like to know where you at on your case. Are you at the beginning, the middle, the starting now? You've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. So try to be complete with your case. Now, the third way is to be my show to be a guest. And I love to have guests on the show because it adds flavor to the show. We have someone else talking besides me. And to schedule to be a guest, I have a very important person that works really hard. She's our show producer. Her name is Grace, and she's on right now, and she works behind the scenes. And I want to thank her for what she does. She helps keep the show in line and make sure things are doing fine with the podcast. Keeps me in line. Now, all you do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's up on the screen. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And you just pick one of my shows. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. That's 14 shows. And I can have up to 9 people as a guest. This will hold 10 people. And I'd love to have you as a guest. Now, I'm on at 10 o'clock every day except Sunday. Sunday, I come on at 8 o'clock. I have an outing with my family in church. Family is important. And I think things like church are important too. Now, that goes from 10 to 11 Pacific Standard Time. In the evening, it's 7 o'clock, and it goes from 7 to 8 Pacific Standard Time. Now, there may be some days that I'm starting early on my podcast, and that's only because I have family commitments. And this is the football season, so high school football started. So I know on Friday nights it's going to be hard. This Friday, though, I think they have a bye. So I don't have to worry about this Friday, but the following Friday is a big important game. So 2 Fridays from now, I'll be starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you just tell Grace, I want to be on Bob's podcast Monday morning or Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning or Wednesday evening. You just tell her that. You got 14 to choose from. And she'll contact you. She'll give you the link for the application to get on the SteamYard, and she'll tell you what you can do and not do. A couple things are there's no food or eating on the podcast. Also, there's no smoking. Also, we don't use names, first names of children, judges, the social workers. So refrain from that. Well, she'll tell you how to be a guest on the podcast. So email her, Grace at vincentwdavis.com. So that's the third way. Now, the fourth way is to call in on my office phone number. Now, I'm going to put that up. which means now I can start taking phone calls. It's 626 698 0990. Now that takes you to my phone, my office number, and I'll answer it. And I use Vonage as it's an internet streaming phone, so I use Vonage. And one day it was off, so right now it's working fine. And call in. It's live 626-698-0990. I can only do one phone call at a time, so if you call in, I can't answer it. Also, I only answer my phone between my show hours, my podcast hours. I can't answer it before or after my podcast. I will give you a message. I'll text you a message about my show times. So I like to move back to our guests, and I got to find it because I got a lot of rooms in here and stuff. And we got a phone call. Um, Hello, Jesse Lake. Um, I need to do an update. Okay. Um, Good evening. This is Bob Pace. Who am I have the pleasure talking to?
Hello, this is Jesse.
Hi, Jesse. You're the one that just posted the comment. And what part of the world?
Yeah.
What part of the world are you from?
I am in Missouri.
In where again? I'm sorry.
In Missouri.
Missouri. And what city in Missouri?
Columbia.
Columbia. Well, welcome to have you, Jesse from Columbia, Missouri. And you want to talk about your case, or you have a comment, or you have a question? What would you like?
Yeah, so I did a documentary a couple of years ago on, you guys are connected with the CPS, the horror story.
Right. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Right. Yeah. So I am the one that the director, former acting director of the Department of Social Services here in Missouri, actually got. She was able to adopt my twin daughters.
Who was able to adopt your twin daughters?
She was the acting director of the Department of Social Services here in Missouri.
Well, why would? Is she a family relative?
No, sir. But she embellished her familial tie to me. I mean, there is no blood nor marriage relation between her and I. The relationship, basically, to sum it up, was I had a brother who passed away in 2010. My brother had a child with her sister. They were never married. We never even had a relationship with the child. But she was able to use that as a, claim to having a.
Now, were you the guardian of your brother's daughter?
No, we didn't even have a relationship with my brother's daughter. I mean, they pretty well snatched.
So, how did the brother's daughter come into the picture with your social worker?
It has nothing to do with my brother's daughter. That's what I'm saying. It was my daughters went into care, and she got them as foster placement. She laid eyes on them.
Okay. But how did she get into foster care? Did you give them to the CPS?
No. My ex-husband wanted custody. This always gets so Jerry Springer and complicated. But anyhow, my ex-husband, who lived across the country, sent in allegedly an audio tape. That, and again, this is allegedly. I've never heard this tape or seen it. That supposedly had my voice on it, speaking about drug use and sounds on it that would have been consistent with a bong of some sort. And so,
was he doing this in retaliation for your divorce?
What'd you say?
Was he doing this in retaliation of your divorce?
No, he wanted custody of our little boy.
Well, that's what it is. It's called alienation. They're alienating you from the parent, your children from the parent. So when you got a divorce, what was the custody arrangement of the children?
Well, he got full custody because I had a case. I had already had a case with CPS.
Okay, so you guys were still married. You had a
CPS.
CPS case.
Yeah, I had children.
Was it ongoing when you decided to file a divorce?
So it's really complicated here, and I want to get to the point of also why I'm calling it. So initially, I had a CPS case in 2015, and it was due to a boyfriend that was staying with me had some charges, and they ended up charging me as well. Well, all charges were dropped. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but before you had the boyfriend, what about your husband?
My husband was just in Arizona. He wanted custody of the boy.
Okay, wait, you had a boyfriend and a husband?
Well, here's the thing. We had been separated for like a year.
Okay, let's start from the very beginning. You were a husband and wife.
Oh,
and
there's no way you'll have time. There's no way to have.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to sum it up. I think you guys were married. Things went bad, so you did a separation, and then things got worse because CPS got involved, and whatever the allegations were.
Which had nothing to do with him. We had been separated for so long; it had nothing to do with him. He just wanted the kid, and I mean, this was like after 2.5, 3 years of separation is when he did this CPS thing.
Right. Lay people use the CPS to try to get kids back, and that's what they did to you. Is they did that?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's just the beginning. I'm telling you, I have a Lifetime movie that is a sure. I mean, the things that I can tell you that have happened and are currently right now. I'm still. I have no CPS involvement. There's no state involvement. But what happened was.
Do you have any other children, by the way? Did you have any other children?
Yes, I do. I do. I have.
Are they all by the same husband? Are they by a boyfriend? Are they different fathers?
All of my twins have the same father. So I have 2 sets of twins, same dad. And then
that was the guy you're married to.
My boys. No, it's not the guy I was married to. So I had 2 boys.
So when you got married to that guy, how many children did you have with that guy that you're married to?
1.
Okay.
And it's really irrelevant. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but
well, no, CPS always tries. I mean, they're tricksters.
Oh, I know.
And they're going to sit there. I know you may not think it's irrelevant, from what my experience is that even if you're in foster care as a small child, which Faye in this room was, they come after you as a grown adult when you start having children. They're very corrupt. They're very evil.
Oh, I know. I've been doing this for 7 years. But I want to bring you up to speed on what's happening right now because I think you'll be blown away.
So what's happening in Columbia, Missouri? Your voice is died out. Can you speak closer to the phone?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Now I can. You were drifting off.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I want to summarize this the best that I can because it's crazy. So the director got placement of these girls right before their first birthday, okay? And she did it because there was a positive hair test on my behalf. So eventually they got me on a positive. First it was negative, then they wanted my fingernails, and my nails weren't fit.
Did you do your own testing to counter that? Did you do your own testing?
Listen, let me tell you, I am a professional when it comes to dealing with these people by now. Just listen to the story and then you'll get it.
Okay.
I understand. So it was a legitimate positive hair test on my behalf. I'm not here to say I've never done anything wrong. Absolutely. I'm not a perfect person. I had never done drugs or around my children. I never hurt my children. I wasn't like an active user, someone that was using all the time. But I had substance. Eventually, I had a positive on my hair. Now, with that being said, that's the reason why they came into care. Those girls remained in care. They drugged this out for over 4 years. As soon as it was time for them to, whatever the Bill Clinton Safe Families Act, where there's like a time limit where they have to decide if the child is going to be reunified with the parents or if they're going to be, put up for adoption. As soon as that time frame hit, it was immediately my case plan was changed over from reunification to TPR pending adoption, so termination of parental rights. So I was notified via text message, hey, your kids are going to be put up for adoption. There was nothing I could do to satisfy this case. I did everything that was asked of me, did the rehab, I will say initially out of treatment, I got, I would say when I say handful, I use that word lightly. I'll say the ratio of my drug tests throughout the duration of the whole, say, 5 years would be about 6 to 36. So 6 positive to maybe 36 negative drug tests. So just to be quite frank with you, that's what I was looking like. And the majority of those positives occurred initially right out of treatment when I came home to an empty house, and I realized very quickly this case is going nowhere. This woman has no intention of returning my children. The ex-husband got the boy. He was sent off to Arizona across the country to live with a complete stranger. He did not know his father. So it was devastating.
Did they use the ICPC organization to transport your child?
Did they complete it? Is that what you said?
Well, no, there's a special organization that transports children from one state to another.
Yes.
The reason why I'm bringing all this out, I got a room full of people, approximately 15 people, and I'm trying to help them with your story. That's why I sometimes focus on that.
Sure. No, I'm not questioning why you're asking
and that's like that. And then Faye asked a question. She says, were you able to attend your termination of your parental rights hearing?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Were you able to attend your termination of your parental rights hearing?
Wait till you hear what happened. I'll answer that question for you. Well, it never occurred. They ended up convincing me or coercing me into terminating my own rights, believe it or not. So.
And you never had a hearing on that. You never had a hearing on that.
I'm sorry?
You never had a hearing.
Never had a hearing. No, we were pulled into a room and told.
Let me help you here, and all the listeners. If your termination of parental rights and you're not at a hearing, you can appeal that case and get thrown out.
Let me tell you what happened, because I am in desperate need of help right now, and I have a case that is winnable. It is absolutely absurd what's happened to us. About midway through this case, I got pregnant with a second set of twins. Okay? By the grace of God. I mean, I felt as though I had nothing else to live for. I was looking at, TPR pending. I had no children in my care. I wasn't able to work because I was just a mess of depression. I mean, I felt just at the depths of my despair. So I thought maybe the birth of another child will help me to keep living, And
now, did the state of Missouri inform you that there's a law that says you cannot have children when you have an investigation with CPS?
No, that's not a law. That's not true.
Okay.
There was no reason to open a case on my new. They did not open a case on my new babies. I birthed those babies October 22nd of 2020, and they were the most healthy, perfect girls.
So the CPS allows you to have children with an open case.
Yeah, would you say they let me have them?
Well, okay, in California, it's against the law. If you are,
it is not against the law here. Yeah. There's nothing, no reason why. No, that is not a law here. I absolutely can parent my
because they don't want.
They do not open a case on them.
They're really restricted about that. They don't want any more children, being born.
Here's the thing. I have like an audio recording of I don't know if you're familiar with the term FST, but the family support team meetings that are held when you have a case.
Yes.
They're held monthly, and it's a whole gang of people, the whole group. They all get together, and I always.
You're lucky you have that in Missouri. They don't have that in California.
Really?
I'm telling you, I'm comparing different states. I have talked to 2 social workers that have been a guest on my show. One from Maryland, one from Indiana, and a lot of them don't have the same thing. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to learn. That's why people ask me, "Why do you want to know where I'm at?" Well, because I know in Columbia, Missouri, they have these special hearings once a week or once a month. I think they're great.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, I'll be glad. I would love to help educate anybody. You know why I do this, why I'm rushing you through this? Because for years, I have been trying to get this out, and it's always too long, and it's always a rush, and usually it's like tick, tick, tick. It's costing. Currently, I have an attorney that won't listen to me because it's $400 an hour to talk. And so he's like, you're burning up time. So
That's
forgive
a
me if I'm
cheap
rushing
attorney.
or
That's a cheap attorney because the ranges are more like 600 to 1,000 an hour. So
well, here's
that's
the
good.
thing. It's unreasonable. It's not right.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
ridiculous,
agree.
and
I agree. I'm not.
it's crazy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That these guys are costing this much money for us to just have what's rightfully ours.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you. I want to get to the heart of the story. Feel free to interrupt me, or whatever.
Well, I have
But,
two more comments that have come in since you talked. They're both from
okay.
Faye. Faye asked the question: did you have any prior removals that ended in adoption?
Not prior.
Okay, good.
The first set of twins
Yeah.
did end up.
Yeah. Now Faye is
no,
saying
not prior.
because if you had a prior termination of parental rights, they can take away any future children because you didn't have any.
Now I've studied this in
Yeah.
Missouri. If you have priors that you've already been terminated on, there are certain guidelines that if you have another child, that baby has to have had tested even down to a certain level of illegal substance, or there has to be some sort of I don't remember what the circumstances were, but they cannot just automatically take your child. They must be, and I mean, it's pretty liberal, if you ask me.
Right.
Like,
well, Faye was saying that in some
like,
states. She wasn't necessarily saying it was Missouri, but she says in some states, if you have a prior adoption, any future children will be taken from you. So I'm only saying this because right now I have over 15 listeners, and this will be recorded and replayed over and over, not only in the U.S., but worldwide. This is a worldwide podcast. So,
and the best thing I can do right now is expose what's happening to me, because it's.
Oh, I agree. I'm glad. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting it, but I'm trying to help other people understand what you're going through.
Please, I want them to understand. Yeah. I want my lifelong. I mean, I would love my career to turn into awareness and helping and advocating for mothers and fathers that are going through what I have gone through, because it's destroyed my family. When I gave birth to the second set of girls, like I said, they were born healthy. I even moved myself into a sober living house just to have a drug test to show if it ever came up, because they weren't drug testing me. They didn't care. I was in therapy. They didn't care if I was in therapy or not. I did these things on my own because I knew what I was dealing with. So I could have advocacy, and I just knew I was going to make sure nothing prevented me from bringing my babies home. And so like I was saying, that FST was held shortly before I gave birth, and you can hear the caseworker going on and on about how wonderful I'm doing and how much of a peer support I was in the sober living house. And, we were really excited, looking forward to the birth of these babies. And, it becomes clear that they're kind of starting to plan the next meeting on the older girls, kind of gauging it around the birth of my daughters, the new ones. And I'm like, hold on a second. It doesn't really matter when I'm having these babies. I'm available to do another meeting, or we can get together or talk about this case with the older girls whenever is convenient for everyone, and God forbid, unless I'm in labor, I can do Zoom or phone, whatever. But it just became clear that they were starting to put a lot of focus on the birth of my new girls. And, that made me very uneasy, obviously. But needless to say, I had them, brought them home, and when they were about a month old, so I'm still pending TPR on the older girls, and that means I was allowed to essentially play house with them every week, once a week, supervised, starting out in the public environment, and then actually at my mother's home, so their grandma. The caseworker would bring them to my mom's home, and so they were very much aware of who we were, mom and dad. They knew who we were. And
so where are your four girls during all this time? Who are they with? Your four girls?
I'm gonna tell you. So
okay. No, I'm just asking that because I don't know if they offered you family members a chance for you to submit family members for the kids.
Of course, nobody was fit. They said my mother wasn't fit. That was BS. She was a nurse for the same doctor. My mom retired this week. Okay, and I'm 40, and she started at that office when I was 3. She held that same job for the same doctor as his nurse and secretary. She moved into a home with a fenced-in giant backyard with a swing set and another room. She petitioned to get guardianship, to intervene as guardian on the girls, and was denied. No reason given, really. We appealed it with the Western District Court of Appeals. It was denied. This woman had pulled. She was the head of the state. Nothing was going to get these girls back. And they even did a news article out of the Springfield News Leader in 2019, I want to say, about conflict of interest. Missouri mom is in an unfair battle against the head of the state as she, this is a conflict of interest that this woman has her daughters. And we got a lot of feedback and support when that happened, but then it's like it kind of got swept under the rug. Everybody forgot about it, and listen to what happened. I had these babies, and when they were a month old, again, there's no open case on them because there's no need to have an open case. If they were born with drugs in their system, they would have been taken away at birth. They were perfect. I mean, almost like crazy perfect. They never left my side, which is like unheard of. I think I was home from the hospital in like 24 hours with 2 4.5-pound babies, breastfed babies, at that.
Mm-hmm.
So truly, sent from God is what I feel. But anyhow, we were approached by our attorneys at the time the JO's office wanted to see if we would consent to doing hair follicle testing. And contingent upon the results, they would maybe reconsider the TPR on the older girls and give us more time with the older girls. I should have known,
that was a trick. That was a trick.
Not.
You don't. For all you listeners out there, excuse me a second here. For all you listeners out there, don't trust the CPS because they're very deceiving. They will tell you things like sign the safety plan. You'll see your children.
Oh, yeah.
And, we'll do these drug tests. And if you test, and you do your own drug test. You do your own hair follicle test. You do not sign a safety plan.
Sometimes there's just no way around that, though. They make you, like in my case, well, let me tell you what they did. We said, sure, we'll do hair testing. We had nothing to fear. We were so confident. I felt, and I remember the father even also felt like they're going to have to give these girls back. They do not have a leg to stand on. We are, we did not deserve.
But they lie. They lie. They lie.
Well, what they did was they forged the drug test results.
Oh, yeah. I know that. To all you listeners out there.
They came in.
Yeah, they are just, they're like, it's $1 trillion business. I like to interject that for
people.
What?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's $1 trillion business. It's very corrupt. They're in it for the money.
Yeah.
That is all.
And in my case, I don't even think it was the money. It was just because she wanted my girls. So in order to secure her adopting the girls, she said, I have a plan. Let's have them do hair tests. Now we can deem not only mom, but dad too, to be unfit. We're going to put these positive hair test results on both of them. The father has no history with drug use, no history with, at the time, no criminal background.
Did you marry that guy? Is he just your boyfriend still?
No, we were never married. We never lived together, but we did, intend to co-parent. We got along just fine. He was supportive. He was older than me, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, he was an African-American gentleman. I'm white. Doesn't matter. He still never did anything to deserve termination of parental rights on his kids. I mean, they should have given him, but then we would have been in a horrible position where he would have had the girls, and then I would have been like the predator, like, you must keep them away from her because she's a danger. Her drug usage is so, they made me out to be this threat to the kids. When here I've gone through months of sobriety and, then I did everything. It was just like, and it was ridiculous at this point. It's no longer about drugs, or drug use. No one's done anything. We've rectified anything that ever initially brought these kids into care. But so, like I said, we did the drug testing. They came in the day before Thanksgiving with a order of protective custody on the babies. 1 month old, breastfed, 4.5-pound girls. And it was quite the standoff there for a while. I mean, it was awful. Well, they ended up taking them. We immediately went out and did new drug tests, tested negative, both of us. Courts did not care. They still adjudicated the babies. They said, Your Honor, both parents have tested negative on their newest drug tests. However, we want to keep the kids in custody to subpoena all 4 medical review officers to analyze all 4 tests. So, that was horrible. I mean, I want to say 6 months they were in foster care, and now you wonder, well, who had them? Well, it gets so complicated, but my oldest child, initially, he got placed with the director too. Well, they decided they didn't want him. Way back when, when the girls were first a year old, when she got placement of them, they said, we'll take the older brother. And then they decided, oh, he's too much trouble. They shipped him off to residential. This is the director of the state, that is supposed to be, a leader, and she shipped, pretty much directly out of her household, ships this kid off to residential, where he's left, tossed around, over medicated, cross diagnosed, misdiagnosed, and all of the above. And until he finally gets to a point where he was doing so poorly in residential, almost no contact with me at all, they had shipped him to a woman in St. Louis, Missouri, a foster parent, who was like a specialized foster parent for at-risk teens. She was good at like staring kids straight kind of deal. And she did. She kind of scared him straight. She did some justice with him. And I'm grateful for that. She provided structure and more. But she said, I'll take the babies. It only made sense because, she had the older sibling. Not only that, but she had also agreed to take guardianship over him when the permanency plan changed for the kids. They already knew they had an adoptive home for the first set of twins. But where would that leave him? He was going to be placed up for adoption. Here's this like preteen that was kind of, behaviorally challenged. It was going to put him in a horrible position to be put up for adoption. So thankfully, this woman said, you know what? I'll take guardianship over him, and that'll keep him out of harm's way, of being put up for adoption since the director doesn't want him.
Why wouldn't they want you, the mother, the kids back with you? There's no talk about reunification, and you have your kids back.
They couldn't just give me one. They weren't going to give me one kid back. The bad, I should say the bad one, but the older one, what I'm saying? Like they couldn't have just given me him because that wouldn't have made sense. Of why won't you give the babies back? They didn't give them back because she didn't want to give them back. She never was going to ever give them back.
What was the reason why she not want to give them back?
Because she wanted them for herself.
Oh.
They had a full-blown nursery in their home in the first month that they had those girls. She taught them to call her mommy. They said their first words, took their first steps, all of that in that first month. They turned a year old. That's like pretty well on target for all those milestones. So she had decided very early on. And there's other things that I can tell you of how I know that she never intended to give them back, but we don't have enough time. But
let me stop there for a second. Let me stop there for a second because I have about 8 comments have come in since you've been recently talking about there. I need to get these people back in the loop here. We have a new person in this room called where is he? Hotisha Harris. He's not new. He's been in before. Welcome, Hotisha Harris. You're welcome in here. I need your city and state or your country, Hotisha. I need to know where you're from. Now, see, Faye talked about the adoption. Then she said, if you have okay, we already talked about that one. And some states, she said that they do the same stuff to her in Kentucky. No family fit on maternal or paternal side. And Faye further says if a judge court orders the hair test through DCF, that's the Child Protection System in Kentucky, then there's no choice. You have to go with a court order. So I don't know if your hair follicles were a court order or a CPS order.
That's a good question. I don't know, but at this time it doesn't really matter. They were forged anyway, and they anyway. I'll let you continue if you need to answer comments. I really don't know the answer to that. I'm sure it's probably court ordered.
Well, the foster care system, Faye says that she's a foster is messed up. She was a foster mom. Oh, I'm sorry, not Faye. Reddick Shirell is new. That's what threw me in there. We have another person called Reddick. I don't know what city, state, or country she's from, but the system that Reddick Cyrell says is messed up because that person is a foster mom. The parents are getting failed, and the kids. Well, there's in all people in this room. I don't want to downplay foster parents, but the majority of the foster parents that I've been involved firsthand, because I too was in CPS, has been the foster parents have hurt my children. I know that for a fact. So foster parents are having a bad rap right now. They're supposed to be professional people that have been trained. So welcome you.
Oh yeah, but
Welcome,
it's a sin.
Reddick Shirell. I welcome you. I'd like to know what city and state you're from, Reddick Shirell. And I'm glad that you're in a room. Faye says some same thing done to her son. Her son was put in residential treatment facility and no contact with her. And see, her son is a special needs child. And then
Oh wow.
she says because they can make money and place back with her. You see, it's all about money. It's all about money. In my case, my three children were getting paid by the state of $60,000 per person per month. That's $60,000. If you took 100 families with three children, that's $6 million a month, just in my case alone. So it's just mind-boggling. And I'm not talking millions or billions. I'm talking trillions of dollars that the social workers do. That's why it's so corrupt. It's all about money. That's what Faye was saying there. Now, Faye further says, she says, more kids you have in your care home, more money she makes. So that's why she wants to have it. It's all about money, money, money. And in my case, it was about money. Now we have a new person here named Summer Norris. I think Summer has been in here before. I recognize the Summer. And she is Norma Dallas. She's from Dallas, Texas. Her name is Norris. Right, Norris. Welcome, Norris. And she's from Dallas, Texas. And so she's listening in too. Faye says it's not court order, then they can be thrown out. Very important. If things are not court order, it can be thrown out. So that was good that Faye brought that up. But most just getting a foster for the money and a free baby. You see, if you want to adopt a child in real life, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, it's a long process. Right. But if you want a free baby, all you have to do is become a foster care parent, and CPS will turn you over lots of free children. Plus, they give you money as a foster care.
There are so many people involved in that circle of money. Now, I mean, when it comes to removing children, you got the therapists, you got the rehab facilities, you got the GALs, the JOs, the lawyers. I mean, it's just endless. The child therapist, the individual therapist, the family therapist.
Well, I welcome Reddick Cyrell. She is a foster mom, which now that's good because I've had social workers in this room, and now we have a foster mom. You're about the third foster mom that's been on my podcast, and I'm glad to welcome you and hear from a foster mom. I need to know everybody about that. But she's from Michigan. She's from Michigan, and she says as a foster parent, she can only take one child at a time. So maybe Reddick Shirell is one of those special foster care people that really do care about children. But the foster care people.
Or is that like law?
I'm sorry. No, that's not a law. That's what she does. Personally. That's a personal thing because you can take in CPS will dump a lot of children into foster care, and the foster care will let their kids abuse those children. I know that for a fact. That foster care does not protect children. They're in custody. I've had several parents in this room that was doing there. So anyway, she was also a foster child. Reddick is from the foster. Reddick, do you have any real children? And if you grew up and you had real children, were they taken from you? I'm very much interested about repeat thing. See, Reddick was a foster child. Now she's a foster parent. And I'm glad to have you. And she says she only does one child at a time. And she's very sincere. And she likes to help them, but not keep them. So that sounds really, really, really good. So Faye
Yeah.
says another comment here. Yep, it's all well-oiled machine. It's designed to pull in uh, residential residual income and job security, and
Residual. Right.
residual income and job security. As long as there is children, they'll never be jobless. You see, there's over 400,000 people in the United States every year. They're investigated by the child protection system. 400,000. Now, going back to you, yeah, I'd like you to continue. We have about 10 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll try to wrap this up. So basically, the guardian in St. Louis was able to take the babies, and she immediately handed them right back over to me the following day. Low key. So that I was grateful for. I have like the hotel receipts from where I would drive and get a hotel, or drive to where she lived, get a hotel. She would give me the babies, and that's the only way I was able to parent my newborn babies, was under the radar. Well, finally, a TPR hearing. They, like I said, ran this very concurrently. They wanted to make sure that they had these new babies in custody by the time they actually, brought us into the courts on the older girls. And so they had me right where they wanted me. They're like, all right, now it's April, so we're talking from November to April. That's roughly 6 months that the babies were in foster care, and now the TPR hearing is occurring on the older girls that are now 5 years old at the time. And there was no hearing held. There was no court preparation, or anything by our attorneys, because it was clear they had already a pre-calculated plan for what was going to happen. They pulled us into a room and said, here's what's going to happen. You either do a voluntary termination of your own parental rights on the older girls, so voluntary TPR, and so that they can be adopted. And if you do that, we'll grant you a guardianship on the babies, which will allow you to one day reverse that guardianship if you choose. You can go before a probate judge, in the probate courts, and you can file a petition to reverse the guardianship and get them back in your care. Now, that's just the babies. Again, I would lose the older ones.
Don't trust them. Do not trust them. I know that sounds really nice, but they are going to build up your hopes.
It doesn't sound really nice. It sounds horrific. It's like an eye for an eye. But then the second option was, if you fight this and you take this to trial and you lose up against, I'm fighting the head of the state, and I'm very much aware that they will do anything, including committing forgery, perjury, forging these drug tests. They will do anything to win. And so I'm knowing if I go up against her and I lose, they told me, you will lose all 4 girls. We'll put all 4 of them up for adoption.
Now, do you have an attorney, by the way, a paid attorney?
Absolutely.
Well, see, long as you have a paid attorney and he is a dependency law attorney, you do fine. I don't like the idea that people think, well, we got a court-appointed attorney and they'll be fine. Well,
I had a court-appointed attorney at the time. It didn't matter. We had a paid lawyer and a court-appointed lawyer, and they both rolled on us, completely shut down, and didn't fight, and allowed me. That day, we surrendered our rights to the 5-year-olds to save the babies. They did what they said they would do. They granted the guardianship, okay? And they pacified me. I relocated, moved to St. Louis so I could be closer to the guardian. She handed the girls back to me. I parented them for 2 years. When they're about their second birthday, she got her nose out of joint about money. She was actually my landlord, and she was trying to say that I had gotten behind on my rent and separated from the father, and it got a little helter skelter. And so she got, again, this is about money. At the time, I was so grateful that she was willing to take these girls. I didn't care that she was getting a check. I just wanted to parent my children. And in her eyes, she's like, I'm going to be getting a check, and she's going to be raising the kids. Perfect,
Wow.
Well, wow. I feel like she got a better offer. And now, present day, I have filed a petition to reverse the guardianship. I have filed this petition over a year ago, I guess, and I'm in with my second attorney. I sold my car to retain one lawyer. She was no good. I had to fire her, lost all that money. Then I retained another lawyer. And right now, in 4 months of this litigation, well, let's say March, April, May, June, July, we're approaching 6 months of this litigation with the second attorney on my team. We are roughly $20,000 in on a simple guardianship reversal. But here's the thing. I have everything in my heart, mind, body, and soul tells me that director is paying for the guardian's legal representation to fight me on this because the director wants now the second set. I don't know. I can't prove that. Don't quote me on that. I'm not saying that's a fact, but I'm saying that is what I feel because there's no way that foster mother, the guardian, is going to come out of roughly $30,000 to fight me on keeping these girls. Now, here's the good part. In the litigation, they have filed motions for me to complete 15-panel hair tests, for me to have a home study done where I live, have supervised visits. And all of these I have done and I have paid for out of my own pocket. I tested negative on the 15-panel hair test. That was $525. The supervised visits, I currently pay $60 an hour every other weekend to have a supervised visit with my daughters an hour and a half away from where I live. So that's $90 a visit, plus anything that's
plus your gas. Don't forget your gas is really expensive now.
The gas that I'm driving there. If I took them to the pool last weekend, I had to pay entrance for myself and the visit supervisor. So the lady that jots down the notes, while during the visit, I had to pay her admission and feed the girls. And it's ridiculous.
Did you tell me your low income? Did you tell me your low income?
But the good news is,
Did you tell me your low income?
They don't care what I am.
Well, in California, they do not charge you. In California, they do not charge you if you're low income.
Well, remember, there is no CPS involvement anymore. These girls are not in state custody. This is now, that was the whole point of signing them over into a guardianship. Now, this is a probate matter between me and this woman. So it's almost like I'm fighting like a wealthy ex-husband or something.
Wow.
She's fighting with the director's money under the table. And there's just, and I got to tell you, I feel as though my own attorney, what in the hell is wrong with it? Like, why is he hasn't filed a single motion. And I'm speaking, I realize I'm taking a risk right now, but it is what it is. We were supposed to be in trial at the end of this month. But let me tell you, when I went to take that 15-panel hair test, I was given a list of labs that I could go to. Of course, I've been a bit traumatized and I'm apprehensive about doing hair tests or any kind of drug testing after what happened. And I shared with the gentleman that was talking with me about coming to do the hair test and at the laboratory, I said, sir, it's very important that, this is handled with care. I had a very bad experience, 3 years ago. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm doing this hair test, so I can get these girls back that were wrongfully taken. And I said, and as a matter of fact, it's your logo of your laboratory on the drug test results that were used to take away my girls 3 years ago. I said, it's your logo, your laboratory, and they were forged. And he said, you know what, bring those with you. So I did. I brought him copies.
Okay, Jesse, at this time, I'm going to have to wrap up the show because it's already after 8 o'clock. I did start a little bit late.
Okay.
So I have about 2 minutes left. I started late. So
the last thing I want to say,
go ahead.
His testimony. He confirmed that they forged them. He confirmed that they forged the drug test. And that's where I am currently.
Wow. Can you do me a favor? Can you come back on my show tomorrow morning at 10 or tomorrow morning at 10 or tomorrow night at 7 or on Sunday at 8 in the morning or Sunday at 7? I'd love to have you talk some more. You can come in there, Jesse from Missouri. But I want to thank you for opening up your heart. Faye had a question for you real quick. And her question was, in your state, have you checked to see if your state lies for reinstatement of parental rights after you surrendered them?
I was told by one of our state senators that in rare situations, adoptions can be reversed. So it's not impossible.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna wrap up that last question, Faye. Faye
Okay.
from Kentucky, thank you for all your questions and being in the room, participating. Of course, Jesse, thank you for the call and sharing your story. It is a very complicated story. I want to thank the foster parent that called in, Reddick Shirell. Thank you from Michigan.
Yeah.
That was Reddick Shirell, the foster care parent. We normally don't have social workers or foster care parents, so that's really great. I want to thank them. Summer Norris from Dallas, Texas. Thanks for being in this room, and please come back and talk some more there. Hotasha Harris. I forgot where you're from, but thank you for coming in there. So with that said, I've gone 1 hour. My time's up. So God bless you all. Do not stop
Thank you.
fighting. Yes, thank you. Do not stop fighting for getting your children back. God bless you all, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. Good night.